What up? Today I am here to talk about shakshuka. This is essentially poached eggs in a sea of spicy tomato sauce. This dish has roots in northern Africa. Can also find it in the Near East, um, around the Mediterranean. You can also these days find it at the Press Cafe in Burlington, Mass. That's where I first heard of it and tried it. So it has definitely gained popularity, beyond just being kind of a, you know, cultural dish of a faraway place. Um, Shakshuka is Maghrebi Arabic or Western Arabic for a mixture. Um, Maghrebi Arabic as opposed to Eastern Arabic, also known as Mashriki or Mashriki Arabic. I did some research. I'm learning today. That Maghreb region in North Africa, for anyone curious, consists of Algeria, Mauritania, Morocco, Tunisia, and Libya. Um, excuse me. Moving on. Um, I made shakshuka last night for the first time. Came out really fucking good. It's not hard to make. If I can make it, you can make it. Believe that. Um, and the three mental notes I made for my own future reference are that I let the, after adding the eggs into the sauce, I definitely kept them on the heat a little too long. Um, I It was my first time poaching eggs, and when I was actually eating some of them, they were a little overcooked. I would say, kind of like borderline hard boiled. But I mean, I like hard boiled eggs. It's just not what I was going for. So that's one note. Another note is, after you go in with the tomatoes, whether you use fresh tomatoes, canned tomatoes, I used a 28-ounce can of San Marzano, if I remember correctly, whole peeled tomatoes. You can find crushed tomatoes in a can. I mean, for me, it was a little frustrating. I had to like crush them in the pan, but that's not the end of the world. And I think I added a little too much water because you want the sauce to like simmer and cook down for like 15 to 20 minutes. And to prevent it from becoming too dry, you add some water shortly after you add in the tomato sauce. The other negative note for me is that, during that time when I was letting the sauce simmer and cook down, I think um, I think I had the heat a little lower than I could have afforded to have it at. Um, it just took longer for the sauce to get to that thickness and consistency where you can actually like use a ladle or spoon to make pockets in the sauce to put your eggs into. So that covers my notes for the future, and just to walk you through the whole process. Um, I used a half of an onion diced. I diced a red bell pepper. I threw a generous amount of extra virgin olive oil in the pan, set the heat to low in the beginning, threw in the onions and peppers. I let those do their thing for like 5-ish minutes, kind of getting softer in the oil and starting to brown. I threw in some salt so far, like kind of a minute after I put in the peppers and onions. You can add the salt early. Um, and then around that like 5 minute mark, I went in with 3 cloves of garlic minced, as well as seasoning. I used a half a teaspoon of cumin seeds, half a teaspoon of Aleppo pepper, and a fat quarter of a teaspoon of crushed harissa, or ground harissa, um, as many here in the States probably call it. You can use harissa paste, which many people do. In shakshuka, I didn't have any harissa paste, but I did find ground harissa at the store, so I used that. Um, and harissa is spicy, but it's good shit. Um, and of course, some crushed black pepper. I might have added the black pepper a little later. I think I did add it later, but So then for like 30 seconds to a minute, letting the seasoning kind of get in there with the onions and peppers and garlic, kind of give it a stir. I think this is called like toasting the seasoning. I don't fucking I'm not a good cook, and if I can make this, you can make this. Um, and so I added the seasoning, and then after that 30 seconds to a minute and giving it some like stirring, I went in with the tomatoes. I added arguably a little more water than I should have. Definitely a tip I would recommend is, use the tomato can to add the water. That way you can like get whatever excess that didn't pour out of the tomato can, you can get a little more of that and add the water. I put probably a little too much water. I had the heat probably a little too low for like this kind of 20 minutes after adding the tomatoes. But after adding the tomatoes, I did add black pepper, and I also added some smoked paprika, and I went in with a splash of soy sauce. Soy is definitely not traditional, but this is an idea I got from Pylin's Kitchen, a channel on YouTube. She does a lot of Thai cooking and uses fish sauce and a lot of stuff. She used fish sauce in her shakshuka. I don't have fish sauce around, but I do have soy. And the goal with that is to add some umami. If you don't know what umami is, look it up. Um, and yeah, so then I covered it. You want to cover it and let it just simmer for 15, 20 minutes. For me, it was like over 20 minutes because of the fact that I should have had the heat a little higher. Um, Noteworthy, before you go in with the eggs, check it for seasoning. Check to see if it needs a little more salt to taste, because I don't know. I guess it's important to do that before you add the eggs, because you can still, I guess, alter course properly. I don't know, but so I checked it. I added a little more salt. I thought I could use a little more salt before I went in with the eggs. And I made I made my first like pocket, little indentation in the sauce. And I went in with my first egg, which I had already cracked and put into a ramekin. I recommend you don't crack the eggs directly into the sauce because that's just unnecessary risk. Unless you're like a god egg cracker and you do it with like one hand on the rim of the pan and you never fuck up. And like, I don't know, like you can use like the ladle to like make the pocket with one hand and then the other hand does the one-handed crack and pour into the pocket or something. That's not me. I recommend using a ramekin, and then you crack the egg into the ramekin, pour from the ramekin into the sauce. And yeah, so I threw in the eggs, covered it up again, waited arguably too long to take it off the heat because the eggs will keep cooking after you take the pan off the heat. After taking it off the heat, I basically garnished with some crumbled feta cheese, some parsley, some thyme, a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil over the top, and one other non-traditional thing I did was a slight drizzle of honey, actually, which I got from the Basics with Babish YouTube channel. I'm just plugging people's good YouTube content. That Babish channel is good. Pylin's Kitchen is good. You can learn a lot of stuff there. And I picked up the honey in a few of the bites, and I have to say it was nice, kind of balancing. And yeah, I think that covers like everything. I love shakshuka. And I'm probably gonna make it thousands more times in my life. No hyperbole there, none. Um, it's super easy to make. Doesn't take that long. Only about like a half hour. Um, and it's really good. And you can have it at any time of the day, pretty much. You can have it for breakfast. It's hearty enough to have for dinner. I had it as dinner last night. Have it with some toast or something. Um, this might not make sense or be relatable to many people, but I can't wait to post some pictures in. I'm in this group on Facebook called Egg on Toast Enthusiasts, and I have not shared any of my own creations yet. But I look forward to having some, poached egg and spicy tomato sauce on a piece of toast that I can share with the good people in that group. Um, but yeah, hopefully this has been informative or entertaining, or I don't know, for at least one of you. It's been fun for me to talk about food, something I used to have to do for work. I love food, and I'm trying to get better at cooking. And we just passed the 10-minute mark, so I've probably been rambling long enough. Thanks for listening. And if you do give it a try, let me know what you think. I think everyone should give this dish a try. It's delicious. But anyway, peace, love, be safe, be well, and until next time.